Well, how about that, Gunners? We kick off our difficult run with an important win, with a pretty slick win. We're all delighted, we're jubilant. Let's have a little look at it. Let's break it down. This is Blog on You Gunners. Team selection first and foremost. I think we're a little weaker than most of us would have liked. It's fair to say. Tierney not risked for this one, perhaps say for Manchester United, or perhaps simply just too injured to take part. That was disappointing, given that a lot of how we play relies on his skill and abilities down the left wing. So Cedric came in for him. Aubameyang still unavailable for personal reasons, which are obviously pretty profound and not simply fixed. So we wish him all the best, but unavailable for a second game, and no telling whether he'll be available for the weekend either. So automatically we're two really key players down, and that was a little bit worrying for us. We had Cedric come in at left back, as I say, and on the left, to the surprise of many, and the surprise of me as well, with Nicolas Pepe. After a promising but difficult game in the FA Cup against Southampton, the Ivorian was thrown into the mix alongside Saka on the right and Lacazette through the middle, with Emil Smith-Rowe restored to the lineup in behind. It's not anyone's idea of an ideal attacking force for Arsenal, but it was a bit more cogent and a bit more dynamic than the FA Cup team. Partey was back in the middle alongside Saka, and David Luiz returned to the centre of defence alongside Rob Holding in place of Gabriel, which surprised me. I'm not quite sure what's happened to Gabriel, given the excellent start he made to the season, but COVID really seems to have knocked him and his run in the team. So Luiz comes in, and it was a surprise team, to be honest, and not one that filled me with a particular amount of confidence. But as we saw in the match, the team selection and the overall performance didn't match up, and I'm delighted to say that. So the first half, I think we all had heads in hands and chunks of hair in those hands when Alex Lacazette was sent through on goal, barely a minute in. An excellent piece of ball recapture from Arsenal. Their defence passed it out and the ball was swept up in the midfield by us. Quick ball into Lacazette. He's through one-on-one. A really high percentage chance, and you think, given his recent form, a simple task for him to slot home. Alas, he managed to find the 4.4 centimetre space of leg that the keeper sprawled out in front of him, and fair play to the keeper. He gambled and went down early, and it paid off for him. Lacazette couldn't lift it over him, and it was a glaring chance, a really high percentage chance. You can't make any bones about that. One he really should have been putting away, and he didn't. And, well, I wasn't panicked at that point. I certainly was a few minutes later, when from a relatively low percentage chance, Southampton took the lead. A well-worked corner routine. James Ward-Prowse crossing to the edge of the box, and that man has got a ball on him for sure, and slotted in on the volley into the ground and past Bernd Leno. I don't have too many complaints about Leno's effort to save it. It was a great hit, a really low percentage chance, and somehow he's buried it. And isn't that just Arsenal? But credit to us, I think it's fair to say we certainly didn't panic. We started the game well up until the goal, and we continued in a pretty positive vein after that. It's fair to say we were pressing them high and well, forcing them into errors, moving it around well, and finding the sort of space that we weren't finding enough in the FA Cup. It's not to say we weren't finding spaces, but not with the same frequency. And I think those that played were obviously better than the ones that started in the FA Cup. They were much less susceptible to the press as well, so it was good to see that Mikel and the team had learnt their lesson on that one. So in the first half, they were good. That's not to say that they were streets ahead of Southampton, because for fair portions of that half, they were pretty evenly matched. And Southampton had their chances. There's no use denying that. They didn't put them away with the frequency they might have hoped. They got their goal for sure, but they didn't take anything subsequently, which was good for us. And on the other hand, we did. We got our noses in front with an excellent piece of interplay. Lacazette picks up the ball and simple one-touch, little slot through to Saka, who is pulled wide, pulled onto the last man, and just strips him for pace. The keeper commits himself, which probably goes a long way to handing us the goal in that one. If he stays, he makes it that much more difficult, but he gambled. The keeper has to make that split-second decision. He got it wrong. Saka slotted it round him and on his weaker foot, places it home. Great goal, 2-1, and I don't think Southampton will have too many complaints. You could say the match was evenly poised, but we took our chances and they didn't, and that's what it came down to in that half, I think. So, brilliant first half. We go in with a slender lead, but a deserved one. There's often a tendency for teams in the lead going into the break to switch the way they play and to perhaps sit off and consolidate and see how things pan out. But there wasn't too much sign of that for us in the second half, certainly the early stages of the second half. We carried on in the same vein. We were pressing well. We weren't getting caught too much in possession by them. More than we'd like, obviously, but not enough to do us serious harm. Southampton huffed and puffed, but didn't test Leno in the second half as much as they'd done in the first. And whether that speaks to some tired legs and some missing players after the gamble that they took in the FA Cup, that's one for another debate. But Mikel didn't make that same gamble, and you might argue that it paid off, particularly in that second half when they began to tire and run out of ideas, and we continued to look good. Culminating in our third, which was the decisive goal, which is the goal that we needed. And again, it was another great move for us. And you can't help but be pleased for the efforts that were put in and for the rewards that we got, and for Lacazette, who missed that really easy chance in the first half, but later on an assist for Saka and got himself on the score sheet smartly for the third and decisive goal. And I think after that one, the fight went out of Southampton. They rolled the dice, they took some players off, which I think was as near to a concession as you're likely to see. And Arsenal had the luxury of just playing around in relative comfort, although you never feel comfortable as an Arsenal fan, of course. Doesn't matter whether we've got a 4-goal lead or a 1-goal lead. You feel that same tension, but that made it easier, I think, when we had to make some really quick decisions on Emile Smith-Rowe and Thomas Partey, who both went down with what we hope is cramp, and is not more serious than that, because we really could do with them not being injured and picking up muscular strains, particularly with United to come on Saturday. But I think it speaks to the intensity with which the Gunners played that one and the efforts that those two players in particular put in ball recoveries and closing down space. I hope for their sakes and for our sakes that it's nothing too serious and that it is just cramps. More, I'm sure, will come out in the days to come, but second half it was a consolidating effort, but one that was rewarded with a goal. A little bit of wastefulness at times, but I think that probably comes with a change in attitude and less urgency. But a good second half, an excellent result for us, one that kicks off this little run in positive fashion and settles nerves, I think, because we were worried that we might not come out of this run with any points, but we've started it well. We're in good form. Fantastic. Standout performers for this one, a threefold today. I'm not going to pick a singular one. I think Alex Lacazette, for an assist and a goal, led the line fantastically well in the absence of Aubameyang. He's enjoying a real renaissance, probably the most stark renaissance of any player in the team. He looked dead and buried in November, December after a real lousy run, but he has benefited more than anyone with the introduction of Emile Smith-Rowe and Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli. He is leading the line fantastically and had another great game and has now 10 goal involvements for the season, leading scorer for us. And he could have had more on the day, but let's not be greedy. He's really performing well, and while he does, let's keep him in the team. Whether he's done enough to earn himself a new deal, I don't know. I don't even know whether that's the right thing. If he has considered to have done enough for a new deal, it might just be a great time to part ways with him and get some good money for a striker in form. But credit where it's due, fantastic again from him. And fantastic also from Bukayo Saka, who likewise came up with a goal and an assist. And can we just talk about his right foot? Supposedly his weaker foot, but he produces a finish for his goal on that right foot, and also the cross for Alex Lacazette for the third goal, an assist on his right foot, picking up a really excellent long ball from Cedric, who was great on the left-hand side as a stand-in left-back. He found his range in a way that he didn't in the FA Cup. He overhit several times. This time, perfect ball out to Saka on his right peg. One touch, straight across goal, perfectly for Lacazette to finish for the third. A goal and an assist. Amazing effort from the young man who continues to get better, and I'm so glad we've got him tied to a contract because he is unbelievable as a player. He's really found his niche on the right-hand side. Amazing. And that just leaves the third and final slot, which I am going to give to Nicolas Pepe, a man who has faced much criticism, some of it justifiable, some of it hyperbolic. But he was great on the night, particularly in the first half. I think he may have faded a touch in the second as he lost a bit of energy and perhaps a bit of direction. But there was a little bit more confidence to what he did. I think that goal did him wonders. He was beating people for a change and making runs with the ball at his feet instead of cutting back and squaring or tripping over his own feet. It's not to say that he still doesn't have a capacity to do difficult things sublimely well and simple things ridiculously poorly, because he does. I think that may just be part of his game. I don't know why that is. Perhaps it is a lack of concentration or confidence, but those traits were still there. But that said, his equalising goal in the first half was brilliant. Exactly what we want for him. Slotted in brilliantly by Saka, held off his man who was doing his absolute best to put him off and foul him, let it run across his body and tucked it brilliantly past McCarthy in the Southampton goal for the equaliser. A goal much needed at the time and buried. Hopefully that will do him a power of good, because we may need him on that left-hand side in the United game, although I dare say Martinelli will be favoured for his higher intensity for that one. But for now, he scored, he's done what's asked of him, followed it up, the Southampton FA Cup performance, which was productive, if not spectacular, with a productive performance, and that's all he can do. He'll never live up to the price tag, unfortunately, that's just the nature of it, but he can chip away and contribute, and he did, so fair play to him. The context of this result for us is simple. It's a great start to a difficult run. We may go on to lose the next 4, but we can't say that we haven't approached it well. We attacked, we were dynamic, we shifted the ball quickly, we didn't sit back, we didn't rest on mistakes or get bogged down. We took the game to Southampton away from home, and yeah, we got the rewards for that. We were ruthless in front of goal, and even with the injuries and absences, we performed well, and you kind of feel like the players are bought into the system and getting better. Carrying that on is going to be important. It's going to be tough, particularly if we've got some injuries. I don't think we're the same side without certain players, but what can you say other than a great start for us? Bigger tests to come, but this was an important win. Moves us up the table, keeps us in contention for a European place, and who knows. And that is it for me this week, Gunners fans. Absolutely great to be thinking about a win for a change instead of poring over a loss. This is the first piece of the puzzle. Let's kick on from here. I'll see you soon. Take care.